Welcome to MindWise, a video podcast and newsletter that embodies holistic perspective on mental health, healthcare, and wellness. I am your host, Dr. Ron Parks, a writer, teacher, and consultant. Today, I'm discussing a topic that has been particularly interesting to me, embracing neurodiversity, which involves navigating personal differences and challenges, recognizing them early, intervening effectively, adopting over time, and exploring the role of artificial intelligence. Personal reflections on neurodiversity. When I was growing up, I was 3 years younger than my older brother, Benton. As I recall, I was more successful, outward-going, socially, and focused. In daily life, things seemed to go more smoothly for me, while Benton often faced harsher criticism from her father, especially in school, when he struggled to keep up and pass to the next grade. He was always in some special education or tutoring program. Once my father sent him to a military school where he might get more discipline and better support to meet his learning and organizational needs. It turned out that aside from experiencing more bullying and having the cookies and gifts my mother sent him stolen, the only benefit he gained from his years there was a gray military-style uniform and a more stoic demeanor, having survived the experience. Fortunately, when he was older, he found some suitable jobs, including one where he worked with our older brother in construction, and later a position with the local government in construction-related work as a building inspector. He had to deal with some bullying and discrimination because he was different in his ways, but he always was friendly with others. He married and had 2 children who I noticed struggle with some of the same learning and processing issues my brother experienced. Ironically, as I faced my challenges in entering my profession, I observed that many of the traits my brother had appeared in at different degrees and forms throughout our family, including myself. I became increasingly interested in how people learn and process information, which seemed to pose challenges to varying degrees in both children and adults. When they received a professional education or diagnosis, it often fell short in helping to establish or meet educational or treatment needs, or in finding the best resources for their optimal benefit or skill development. Although there are broad differences across the population, some individuals have neurologic variations that make learning and communication and interaction with others more difficult. Brain neurologic variations are categorized into diagnostic label, such as autism spectrum disorder, ASD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, nonverbal learning disorders, NVLD, dyslexia, and others for purposes like research, classification, establishing treatment protocols, and for insurance billing and such things. Understanding neurodiversity, definitions, and origins. The term neurodiversity was coined by sociologist Judy Singer, who said that we are all neurodiverse because no 2 humans on the planet are exactly the same. Singer defines neurodiversity as variations in how the human nervous system learns and processes information. And these differences exist in everyone. The nervous system includes the biologic brain, spinal cord, and nerves, all of which are constantly changing and influenced by external perception, sensory, and learning inputs. Importantly, the term neurodiversity is used as an advocacy term for the civil rights of individuals labeled with developmental, psychological, or medical conditions, as well as their allies. It recognizes that all the interconnected factors that contribute to the advantage or disadvantage, but is not intended to define neurologic disability or otherness as a diagnosis or genetic anomalies. Landmark College defines neurodiversity as a social ideal rooted in biologic facts. The human brain is the most complex things on earth, and every brain is different. Instead of separating people in normal and abnormal, neurodiversity asks us to accept variations. To us, it means that autism, ADHD, and learning disabilities are valuable forms of humanity that enrich our culture. New ideas, insights, and a unique way of viewing the world come from diverse minds. This is a strength. Brain-based diversity is a natural phenomenon that exists within our population and is not only beneficial but also essential for human progress. Neurodivergence is the identity or an expression, not a medical or psychological disorder or diagnosis. Neurodivergence can present itself as an exceptional talent, but can also be disabling for a person when a high degree of social communication and thought processing issues exist. Neurodivergence and its manifestation. A person can be born with or develop unique ways of learning and processing information, which determines how their brain and nervous system communicates and coordinates tasks essential for learning, memory, retrieving information, processing new sensory input, and creating functional patterns for specific uses. One example is the construction of a central narrative about the present, using memories of experiences, whether thought, joyful, or traumatic, to guide our behavior with perceived meaning or purpose. The functional brain can imagine a future story about what may be feared or avoided, as well as what could be anticipated for potential gratification or fulfilling an expected need. When the brain functions at a level that is both capable and adaptive within our society, such a person may be well suited for specialized roles and meets societal needs as highly qualified information-based workers such as scientists, doctors, analysts, artists, or business entrepreneurs. Some divide the concept of neurodiversity into two categories: individuals who are considered neurotypical and have brain processing, functioning, and behavior that are average, typical, or standard, and those that are neurodivergent, meaning they process and function differently from the typical or average population. Without typical neurodevelopment or integration of visual spatial memory skills, for example, individuals may tend to be less social or more isolative and work-focused, yet they still succeed in their expected roles. There are many labels and diagnoses used to describe variations in learning, information process, memory, planning, or other observable characteristics. The extent to which traits, behaviors, or symptoms are present within a specific category of mental or brain functioning can indicate whether an individual has an advantage or disadvantage, a disability, or the potential to excel in a particular career or social setting. I realized the reality of the neurodiversity concept when I noticed difference in myself and compared them with what I perceived as the average or typical learning and information processing in others. Some excelled in their work, careers, and other vital aspects of life, while others struggled and faced disadvantages. I find visual spatial learning difficulties, nonverbal processing issues, to be a challenge for myself, my family, and many friends and other professional colleagues. Nonverbal learning disorders, NVLD, share some traits with ASD and ADHD. Still, more notably, they may experience unique challenges with motor skills, social skills, visual spatial abilities, and related memory functions, which can impact social interactions, relationships, and brain memory function, which can impact social interactions, relationships, and brain processes involved in memory and concept formation. NVLD is currently being further researched and developed by a working group at Columbia University for inclusion in the incoming DS-6, the widely used diagnostic manual for medical, psychological, and research professionals. Its new name will be Developmental Visual Spatial Disorders, DVSD. Developmental Visual Spatial Disorder, DVSD, traits and challenges. Individuals who primarily learn and process information verbally, predominantly in the left brain regions, with less available and support from visual spatial processing and memory-related brain regions, generally recognize the drawbacks. Similar traits of DVSD, as often seen in other family members. When there is a more substantial traits, substantial genetic influences, it can lead to significant dysfunction that requires support and intervention. In both children and adults, signs of developmental visual spatial disorders, DVSD or formerly NVLD, may include lack of fine motor skills such as holding a pencil or tying shoelaces, difficulty with physical coordination and gross motor skills as awkwardness in sports activity, challenges in interfering, deduction, reasoning, and multitasking, difficulties with math, using maps, reading comprehension, issues with understanding, reasoning, organizing, and remembering visual information related to physical objects and space. Lessened awareness of one's position in space, which affects the body's ability to move and perform, such as navigating crowded areas, handwriting, and right-left discrimination. Struggles to visualize concepts, remembering words, number series, or sequences, or solve problems that require visual spatial skills, imagery, or memory. Challenges with organizational planning, attention, focus, working memory, and executive function. Executive functioning challenges that impact problem solving, organizing thoughts, planning, and breaking down large projects into smaller tasks. Problems identifying the steps to start and complete a project. Difficulties with problem solving, pattern recognition, understanding information without sufficient verbal context. Trouble in organizing thoughts and concepts for planning, adapting, or transitioning to a new situation. Issues with social skills, interactions, and communications because of difficulty interpreting body language or facial cues and emotions. Missing signals in social interactions can lead to out of context or inappropriate behavior or speech. Advantages of early recognition and interventions. There are crucial benefits to recognizing neurodiversities in early childhood learning. In such cases, interventions such as special education programs and tutoring can help the child develop better skills in areas that may be challenging in adult life, particularly in social interactions, communications, learning, memory, leading to more adaptive functioning. Individuals with these early differences without interventions often spend a lot of energy trying to mask or hide their differences to fit in and avoid ostracism, bullying, or rejections. Many atypical development and connectivity patterns observed in the brain areas during childhood often persist into adulthood, despite early interventions, and can pose challenges later on. The level of difficulty or adversity may depend on how well a person has adapted or found workarounds, as well as the extent of the neuroatypicality and the degree to which information processing and learning are affected. Research and advances in neuroscience, particularly concerning children's development and education, are crucial. Breakthroughs and AI innovations will support both children and adults facing their unique needs and challenges associated with neurodiversity. Learning difficulties are often neurological in origin, affecting how the brain processes information and making it a challenge for individuals to acquire basic skills such as reading, writing, and math. These challenges can also impact skills such as organization, time management, and abstract reasoning. Although the exact causes are unknown, known potential contributing factors include neurologic impairments, genetic influences, or conditions presented before birth or during early childhood. Some early signs of learning and information processing difficulties in children have been identified well within the field of special education. Recognizing these signs allow for early detection, which helps minimize the adverse effects on a learner's development through prompt remediation and intervention. Recognizing learning and information processing difficulties. The indication of learning difficulties vary and may include trouble following directions, issues with reading, handwriting, spelling, stay organized, understanding math, difficulty remembering information, participating in classroom discussions, expressing thoughts aloud, poor coordination, slow acquisitions of new skills, and inconsistent academic performance, often with a gap between expected and actual results or success. There's difficulty listening, behavioral problems, staying on task, poor adaptation to change, mispronouncing words, delayed speech development, and immature speech, as well as challenges with social skills, emotional regulation, and coping strategies. Importantly, a learning difficulty does not reflect a child's intelligence or potential, but shows that they process information and learn differently. Recognizing these signs helps parents and educators provide appropriate support and timely intervention. Long-time adaptation and support strategy. Although learning challenges are often lifelong, numerous resources and effective teaching strategies can help children succeed, including special education services, personalized instruction, and targeted tutoring. An accurate diagnosis, which a licensed professional must make, involves meeting specific criteria and distinguishing learning difficulties and needs, such as issues with speech development, academic skills, coordination challenges, or behavioral problems. By staying informed and collaborating with skilled educators, parents, can foster a supportive environment that enables their children to thrive and reach their full potential. Many of the difficulties or challenges mentioned above, whether early interventions are applied or not, may continue in adulthood. Early interventions are considered the best time to address and work on these issues, as the brain is in a state of heightened potential for learning and growth. Artificial intelligence, AI, the age of computing and automation. Artificial intelligence programs, AI, interventions in similar terms are just as relevant and valuable to adults with persistent information processing and learning difficulties. AI programs have been beneficial when carefully selected and appropriately used to support individuals with special needs or those affected by any level of neurodiversity in learning and information processing. Neurotypical people who do not have these issues also rely heavily on AI to complete tasks more efficiently and, in most cases, accurately. A grammar and spelling checker was used in writing this article to improve readability. Search engines helped find related articles and researches. A timer on my computer was used to remind me to take strategic breaks. And a program with AI, Descript, helped me with the recording and transcription of this project. People are increasingly relying on AI for its many benefits and applications, such as completing more complex tasks, retrieving information, processing information, and building models for actionable projects. Overuse and dependence on AI could potentially cause verbal, intellectual processing part of the brain that become more dominant and overdeveloped. As they say, people are becoming more left-brained. In contrast, our brain areas may weaken or become less effective contributors. This lack of integration with our vital brain regions can lead to overspecialization, limiting a person's ability to adapt. Similar to factory workers who before automation put caps on bottles on an assembly line, or I should say during automation, in highly specialized roles for many workers. As automation and AI advances rapidly, the demand for more of these skilled workers, specialized workers, is decreasing. Artificial intelligence, friend or foe. The overuse of information seeking beyond our basic survival needs for gaining power, dominance, or personal advantage over others, especially in an interdependent society and world like ours, has the potential to lead to conflict and destruction. A very articulate neuroscientist, researcher, psychiatrist, and philosopher, Dr. Ian McGilchrist's book, The Mastery and His Emissaries, The Divided Brain and Making of the Western World, sees our world population evolving towards a society where people's brains become more skewed towards verbal and intellectual processing by overzealously accumulating verbal and scholarly knowledge, resulting in brains that focus more on information gathering while losing integration and balance with the sensory and perceptual parts of the brain. These areas that are important to access our moment-to-moment presence, awareness of perceptual information, and connect to our environment and collective consciousness, make us more aware and mindful. These may have been a greater balance and integration of mental and brain function in earlier periods and societies, such as during the Renaissance or in the ages of more peaceful and productive communities. Of course, with the rapid advancement of AI, the trend towards more specialized brains or brain areas, along with the conflicting socialized pressures to conform, may be our current path for better or worse. Interesting, a 2020 study of London cab drivers reveals a potential decline in the hippocampus function, a critical brain region responsible for memory and spatial navigation. It also among the first areas to deteriorate in Alzheimer's disease or dementia. The research shows that people who regularly engage in complex real-time navigation, such as London taxi drivers, have stronger hippocampal structures and lower rates of Alzheimer's or dementia-related illnesses compared to those who solely rely on GPS. The study suggests that challenging the brain through frequent spatial navigation may build cognitive reserve and potentially reduce the risk of dementia. On the other hand, reliance on GPS or other AI technologies seem to weaken spatial memory, even in individuals who were once skilled navigators. This overuse of the hippocampus, this may diminish its resilience to age-related decline. Oh my God, if I turn off my GPS, I'm going to get lost more. The implication is that overdependence on specific AI programs could have disadvantages, as it may reduce the stimulation and activity of brain areas vital for maintaining optimal function, health, and balance. In preventive medicine, it has been shown that actively exercising both body and mind promote health and longevity, as evident by the decline in health among individuals with sedentary lifestyles and limited physical activity. Therefore, practicing navigational skills may help present brain health and potentially ward off Alzheimer's disease, just as other health-promoting activities are encouraged. Preventive strategies and lifestyle considerations. There's a potential that overuse or dependence on specific current AI programs over time could lead to increased social isolation amongst users. These individuals might be better served or could serve society and are survivable as an independent collective through alternative types of training and lifestyle changes, such as meditation and mindfulness, nutrition, exercise, social support groups, or AI programs that support the interactive needs essential for individual well-being and societal health. I appreciate your interest. For the complete article with reference, go to www.inmindwise.com, INMIDWISE.com, where you can subscribe to MindWise and have access to all my articles and podcasts with references. Please share this with others. Thanks to Sean Parks, editor and project manager, for his valuable contribution in editing. All content is created and published for educational purposes only. It should not be considered a substitute for professional medical services or guidance. Always consult healthcare providers for medical or mental health concerns. This communication does not constitute medical diagnosis, recommendation, treatment, or endorsements. Thank you.